This is actually where I was when I saw the fire, and it was right up over there. So I was under the impression like there was a house over the hill on fire. So we cruised out and we're driving down these roads, and it just kept getting bigger, and I kept thinking, all right, we're gonna be there now. I mean, it's right there. Look at the fire. I mean, it's right in front of us, and we kept finding out we were further away until we finally got up to it.
We all remember where we were that morning.
We were working here on the farm. We could actually see the smoke from our farm here, which is about close to 20 miles away.
I remember it was one of those days where you remember where you were. But we didn't know what it was. I mean, we'd never seen something like that before.
It was really cold that day. I remember the wind was blowing like 40 miles an hour, and my job was watch the tile and make sure it's going to the plow correctly and make sure nothing's going on or anything like that. I knew basically what we were doing, and I knew how it worked. If you have a wet hole, then you need to tile that to get the water out of there and take it to somewhere where it's lower ground, like a creek or something like that. Working on Ryan and Rory's farm, it was hard work. They were just really hard-working guys, and they wouldn't leave until the job was done. Michael's job was pretty much the entire summer he was tiling. He was one of my really good friends, and he was running the backhoe. He was behind us in the backhoe, kind of just waiting to when we got to the right spot to where he'd have to dig. Ryan was in the tractor pulling it, and I think Rory was kind of just observing everything, making sure everything's good. The tractor started to spin out, and then they were like, well, we probably just hit a rock or something like that, and like this happens all the time. We'll probably just go back, get another tractor, and we'll probably just hook onto it and pull it out. They started to pull, like right off the bat, that both tractors just kind of started to spin out, and those are big tractors. So I knew something wasn't right. Out of nowhere, I just heard a big boom. The tile plow ruptured into the pipeline, and gas was just spewing out of it. Once the gas got through the intakes of the tractors is when it ignited. And I had about probably 3 seconds where as soon as I heard that boom, I started running as fast as I could. The ground literally started erupting from my feet, and it was like a volcano of dirt. I mean, dirt was just flying up in the air. I mean, it was just insane. It was just like a ball of fire, and I had no idea what was going on. First thing I thought was just to call 911, and all I could hear in the background was just screaming. Michael, his skin was hanging off his body, and most of his clothes was burned off him, and he was in real bad shape. And I looked over to my left, and I see Ryan and Rory on fire, walking through the field. I dropped my phone, and I just ran to them, and I just tried to do whatever I possibly could do to save them.
I was at work. It was a Tuesday. I got up to get my yogurt. That was my morning thing. And I came back, and I had a voicemail from Kathy, my mother-in-law, and from my mom. I called her. I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I don't know. You need to tell me." I went out, looked at one of my coworkers, and she started freaking out because she had apparently seen on the news that there was an explosion around Dixon. I left work. I didn't know where to go. No one had told, I didn't know any details. Where do you go? Do you drive to the farm? Do I try to figure out where this accident happened? Do you go to the hospital? I didn't have any details. So I was driving down Route 2, you go across the river, you kind of come around a bend, and in that moment, I looked to my left, and there was this huge plume of smoke, and I lost it. The last 5 to 10 minutes of the drive to Dixon, I just kept saying, this can't be real. I'm not ready to be a single mom. I got to the hospital. The coroner, I think, came in about 2 or 3 o'clock that afternoon and gave me the news that they were gone.
Father and son, Rory and Ryan Miller, were installing a drainage tile when they hit a natural gas line in December. Federal investigators blame human error for a deadly natural gas explosion.
Michael Koster still fights to recover from burns he sustained back in December. The 20-year-old suffered second and third degree burns over more than 65% of his body.
Investigators now say no one called the joint utility locating information for excavators before digging.
They were highly respected and they were good at what they did. And it was one of those accidents that, when it was done, made people step back and pause. If an accident can happen to them, it can happen to anyone. Whether you're installing drain tile or doing any sort of digging, it's important to call 811. Then you know where it is safe and it is not safe to dig.
This is 8-inch drain tile right here. We lay it in the ground behind the machine. The machine comes through and digs. The tile goes through a boot and it's laid down in the ground, and then a machine comes back through and covers it up. And through these little slots, water drains. And then it goes up and goes through a system and then goes down to the creek. The last thing you want to do is hit something.
You try and be safe, but you just never know when you're gonna make a mistake. You just always call. I mean, it is what it is. You call ahead of time. I knew these guys, and they were smart. They were well educated. They ran a very tight ship. I mean, I would have never guessed, that it could have happened to them.
Without my kids, I would not have been okay. They were my reason to be okay, to wake up that next day and try my best, which I know that there were trips to the bathroom to cry, but I tried my best to show them that you can overcome things like this, that their dad loved them.
Go look in the mirror.
We went to the cemetery on Father's Day. So it had been 7 months after the accident. I was a mess. And Madeline turned to me and she's like, Mom, I'm really sad too. But I choose to focus on the happy memories that I have than cry about him not being here. From that day forward, I just thought, wow, you're right. That's how I need to live.
This accident was a huge impact on so many different lives.
Roy exemplified the best there is, and his son was just like him. Just a very, very great man. Just a good, more than that, just a good guy. Just somebody who always did the right things. Just a guy you can count on to help you. Just a very, very good guy.
The accident happened right at a month before Kyler was going to become a dad for the first time.
Say I would have died that day, I never would have gotten to meet my little girl.
What's your hair?
She's 3 years old now, and if I would never have gotten to meet her, it would have been hard, and she would have grown up without a dad, and now we have another girl, and being a dad is everything to me.
If it makes one farmer go home and reevaluate his safety practices, or it's one dad who goes home and says, you know what, kids, I was gonna work this weekend, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna go do this instead as a family. Then I'm doing something positive for Ryan's legacy. If this can happen to them, it can happen to anyone. And I don't want it to.